How did somebody find out about the program?
We work with a lot of other community-based organizations for referrals. Cross Purpose comes to mind, some of the workforce centers around town, parole officers, some faith-based entities. We cast a broad net to see who's out there. We had a friend said, well, why don't you try the pregnancy centers? And I thought, well, pregnant woman doesn't really fit into our criteria. And they said, well, for every pregnant woman, there's a man.
Guy.
So that's starting to work
really?
for us to get recruiting. So that helped out a great deal to get serious, to get a good job. And once you do go on the track to journeyman, you can write your own ticket like your friend the plumber. I mean, a plumber will make more than a lawyer in a lot of instances. And
trust me.
They have
when I need to call
debt.
him, yes, he's done very well.
Yeah. The beauty of it is they have zero college debt. It's no tuition.
So you've heard the term failure to launch. And there are a lot of guys out there who just need a little help, getting back to reality. And I mean getting a job and learning how to live a self-sufficient life. Scott Flores is with us from Master's Apprentice. Thank you for being here.
You bet. It's great to be here.
Hey, let me tell you a quick story, and it just seems like an analogy, that's all. I remember when my first kid was born, and I didn't know anything. And so this baby's there, and she needed her diaper changed, and we're in the hospital. And I asked the nurse, well, could you change your diaper? I don't know how. And she looked at me with such disgust, like, how dare you not know how to change your baby's diaper? And I was like, just show me once. If I can gut a fish, and I can, I'm sure I can clean I just don't know mechanics. And I think there are a lot of people out there who don't know the mechanics of getting a job, of going to work, of doing arithmetic, of getting a bank account. And it seems as though your program works just on that. Tell me about it.
You bet. The Master's Apprentice is a pre-apprentice program. It runs 6 weeks long, and we primarily focus on, I call them urban youth. Sweet spot is someone maybe 22, 23 years old. They've been around the block a couple of times, and they're ready to get serious. Maybe they just had a baby. Maybe they're getting married. Maybe mom finally kicked them out of the basement. It's time to get serious.
So in other words, this is a guy who, holy crap, what do you mean I've got to actually get a job in order to survive?
Time to be an adult.
Time to be an adult. Well, as somebody who has avoided adulthood my entire life, help me with this. So what age do people usually come to your program?
I would say mid-20s is the average age. We have guys that are 30 and up. Some kids are fresh out of high school, although the 18, 19-year-olds, they really don't know what they want yet. So there are a few who are serious and are ready to begin a track to journeyman. And that's primarily...
When you say journeyman,
yes.
Define that for us.
A journeyman is one of the skilled trades. We focus on 5 key trade areas. One is electrician, plumber, carpenter, HVAC, and masonry. Those are the 5 primary areas where you can have a license as a journeyman. And with that, that's your ticket to become your own entrepreneur, hang out your own shingle, get a van, start your own business, live the American dream.
A buddy of mine, and his wife, had meth problems earlier on in life. He became a plumber and now has this very successful business. He has employees, he has responsibilities, and he's got some of the cutest daughters you've ever seen, and he's a great dad. And I'm thinking about that guy who's getting off of drugs or trying, and go, what do I do? How do I move forward? How did somebody find out about the program?
We work with a lot of other community-based organizations for referrals. Cross Purpose comes to mind, some of the workforce centers around town, parole officers, some faith-based entities. We cast a broad net to see who's out there. We had a friend said, well, why don't you try the pregnancy centers? And I thought, well, pregnant woman doesn't really fit into our criteria. And they said, well, for every pregnant woman, there's a man. Guy. So that's starting to work for us to get recruiting. So that helped out a great deal to get serious, to get a good job. And once you do go on the track to journeyman, you can write your own ticket like your friend the plumber. I mean, a plumber will make more than a lawyer in a lot of instances. And
trust me.
When
I need to call him, yes, he's done very well.
The beauty of it is they have zero college debt. It's no tuition. So you're working while you're earning. You're earning while you're working. So You go to school a couple of evenings of the week. During the daytime, you're full-time on the job. So you're making money, you're going to school a couple of evenings, and by the time you get your journeyman's, you're making 60, 80 grand a year.
What?
And have no debt. So what's wrong with that?
Let me talk about, I guess, the spiritual side of this, which is the dignity of work. One of the things that scares me the most about our dependency society we have going now, and our welfare state that is just growing and growing and growing, is it diminishes the human being. It diminishes the dignity of work. And I know somebody will say, oh, that slinging hamburgers is a dignified job. And I say, damn, yes, it's a dignified job. There is no undignified job. This is people making an honest living, working hard, learning, and taking care of themselves and their own and looking for opportunities. I'm very worried that people look down on work.
They look down on blue-collar workers.
They look down on blue-collar workers. I know out in Europe, there are some states out there that have such lucrative welfare that people will stay on welfare for years before they become a barista at the coffee shop. Because they get, after college, they get so much years worth of guaranteed income, and it does something to somebody's mind. It does something to your mind if you didn't earn this. If, mom is paying for you, you can stay in your basement, or welfare's coming, the food stamps are coming, and it's enough. There is something just degrading about that, and personalizing, and there's no value to it. And it's hard to go up to that person and go, trust me, work a lot harder, and you'll feel a lot better about yourself. But I believe it's true.
It is. Personally, I believe our government has tried to take the role of the father in the family. Instead of going to your dad for help or advice, you go to the government for help or advice or a handout. And unfortunately, a lot of the students that we have never known their father. I would say 2 out of 3 don't have a male role model in their lives.
Wow.
So that's part of what we do. Is one of the courses, the curriculum that we have is work ethic. It's about how to show up on time, how to have a good attitude, be coachable. And those are the 2 criteria that most of these businesses are looking for.
So talk about that for a second. Talk about the work ethic part, because, listen, as a guy who tries to do as little as possible, and I've been very successful at it, the idea that work for its own sake is a good thing, showing up on time. If you want to direct your own life, there are certain rules of engagement, and you teach those rules.
Right.
Like
we
what?
teach them. I call it the kind of the unspoken language of the workplace. And a lot of our guys have chips on their shoulders, so they think that you're down on me because I'm black or I'm brown or I'm poor. That's no, we're down on you because you're new, you're a rookie. So we're trying to improve you. So we have to get past that first. That they're not picking on you. They want you to do a better job. And a lot of these guys have coasted through life at C- or D+, and still they get passed to the next grade. But in the real world, you're not going to get by very long on C- work, especially at a construction site. You're going to have to be doing B+, A- work, or you're out of there. So quality is another aspect of it, in not only showing up on time, but doing a good job of what you're doing. And if you don't know, then ask. They'll be glad to teach you about that. But this sense of pride of workmanship is something that we have to work to instill in somebody. We do simple, I call them Boy Scout projects. We make birdhouses. So we teach them how to measure and cut and do a simple plan and build a little birdhouse. But if they do it wrong, we say, hey, you're going to do this over again. If I was a bird, I wouldn't live in that birdhouse. And they get mad and they stomp off, but then they come back and they say, here, measure this, and it's dead on. So you have to kind of dig down to pull out that quality aspect of it, and you can see their chest puff up, and hey, they take that birdhouse home and they give it to their mom and their girlfriend, and it's just a pride of accomplishment that they see. And then that translates to when they're on the construction site and they build a building. They'll drive by it someday and say, hey, I built that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. In college, I had friends who would help build decks. And one of them was just telling me, we'd work for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'd build this deck. And then we'd have to spend a couple hours drinking a beer and just looking at it, because we did such a good job. And that's the pride and the celebration of a job well done. Nobody else might not know what it took to make that deck. You know what it made to take that deck, and you know that corner that you cut isn't just right, but you know the one that you did right perfectly. Tell me about the resentment. Is when people go and do this or enroll, do they just want to be left alone? Do they feel lectured to? I don't need some old guy telling me to get a work ethic. Yeah. My mom's been telling me that for 26 years.
Well, part of that is we rely a lot on volunteer coaches. These are retired, semi-retired guys that still want to give back to the community, and they've found a calling to teach young men. So not only are we creating a bridge between the youth that are looking for an opportunity and the businesses that are desperately in need of these workers, but also a generational gap bridge between the youth and the older folks. When I grew up, almost over my neighborhood, there were grandparents living in the same houses as the kids. And that's missing today. You don't have grandparents around to give that sage advice to the youth. And that's what they're giving them, is this sage advice. Is that, don't do what I did, this is the way to do it.
You said these jobs that desperately need to be filled.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Oh, very
because,
much so.
Even with COVID, coming back, a lot of unemployment insurance, another reason not to get a job is the government will pay you not to work. But you're saying that the jobs are out there if they go through the program, pick a trade, there's work for them.
Yeah, it's kind of a perfect storm. Baby boomers are retiring, 50 to 60,000 baby boomers are retiring every day. And a lot of those guys are the skilled tradesmen, the electricians and plumbers. They're getting old like me, the old timers.
And they actually have the money to retire.
And they're ready to retire, and there's no youth coming up underneath it because our public schools have gutted shop class. I'm a DPS graduate, so I had shop class when I don't know if you had shop class in school, but they no longer have shop class in most of the public school systems. And that's where you learn some of these basic crafts. And if you didn't learn it there, then you learn it from your dad or your granddad. So that's all been taken away. Whether it was building a doghouse with your granddad or making a toolbox in shop class at school, those no longer exist.
Driving around Denver, I see a lot of young people living in tents. I know some people have mental illness problems, some people have chemical dependency problems, some people just like the lifestyle.
Yes.
So when I see a young, able-bodied person on the street, is this assuming that person isn't mentally ill, could that person within 6 weeks learn a trade?
We're a pre-apprentice program. So we give them the basics. We do some career coaching. We help them craft a resume. We give them some nice clothes if they need to do that for an interview. But the main thing we do is we prepare them to begin an apprenticeship. So we're like a second step program for some of the missions around town where they're going through alcohol rehab, drug rehab. Once you get stable, get your life together, then we're the next step program. Okay, we'll help you get a good, not a job, but a career. And that's one thing we emphasize. This is a career, not a job.
You mentioned arithmetic to me before the show, and it got me that, how many of these guys, for instance, have bank accounts? You're in your 20s, your early 30s, you have a kid.
Very few, if any.
What do you mean, very few, if any?
They've just, they've never been exposed to it. They think the banks are there to rip you off. Some are, but for basic services, it's a good thing to have a bank account and a checking account and a debit card, because those things are convenient to live the lifestyle nowadays. But these guys are used to living hand to mouth, so they get their check, they go to a paycheck cashing service on the corner and pay 2 or 3 points to get their check cashed. So the first week of the class, we teach them to add up how much money they're spending just to get their check cashed, and it's $600-700 sometimes.
Wow!
And a light bulb comes on, and we talk a lot about money. We teach them some basic financial literacy, because when they do get a good job offer on the table, they'll look at, well, what's a 401k? So we teach them what a 401k is, and don't just look at the dollars per hour. Maybe this company is $15 an hour, and this company is $16 an hour. But what are the benefits? Is it health care? Is it 401k? Is it matching contributions? What are the benefits? Because that dollar an hour difference isn't going to make a hill of beans in 20 years, but your 401k will. So,
how many of these kids made it through, actually graduated high school?
Actually graduated, we require at least a diploma or a GED. So I would say, just from my previous experience in working with public school systems, it's about 60 or 70% graduate high school. DPS, it's lower. Other districts, it might be higher.
Wow. So a lot of these kids have a high school education.
Yes.
Should know what a checking account is. Should know some of the basics of financial.
Nobody ever talks about money in school. Even college, I bet they don't even talk about money in college. So we've had college graduates that come and work for us. One guy wanted to be at like this TV studio. He wanted to work at Channel 9, but he couldn't get a job. So he came to us to become an electrician so he could pay off his student loans.
That's awesome. And did he?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So how do you measure success in this? Because I imagine you get, it's mostly young men.
Yes.
That you get young guys there who don't work out.
Right? We have about 80% make it through our curriculum. But that's one of the benefits we provide the corporate partners that we work with, the major contractors in the metro area, people like Encore Electric and Haynes Mechanical. These are all major corporations that help sponsor our program because they know every few months they're going to get a good quality farm team of apprentices coming through. It's not unlike baseball where the Rockies have a farm team. We're kind of the farm team that's developing these guys. We're testing them out. We're weeding out the chaff and passing through.
80% go through the program and move on.
Yeah.
Those are amazing.
And of those 80%,
numbers.
90% of them get a job, a career.
You must give me the success story. Imagine one guy and just tell me his story real fast.
Kid came, he was 2 years out of school, was tired of flipping burgers and going from job to job, and he wanted a career path because he was planning on getting married. So his last job, he was hauling doors up and down stairs all day long, and that was it.
I had that job for a while.
So he eventually, he wanted to go into HVAC, so he got a career path with one of our major corporate sponsors. They do all the major, like Mile High Stadium and Coors Field and all the big buildings that they do the HVAC systems in there. And we went down to Coors Field, and actually where they do the balls, they have a humidor.
Yeah, they have a humidor for the balls.
The HVAC guys are responsible for that. So he thought that was really cool. And he thought,
it is really cool.
Yeah, I want to do that. And this has been about 5 years ago now. So he's now got his journeyman's license. He's making 60 or 70 grand a year plus overtime. Got married, has a baby, and just heard a couple weeks ago that he bought his first house. So that's just full circle. It's like I say, okay, now you need to come back and talk to this next group of interns that are coming in. Tell them, hey, I was sitting there 5 years ago, and now look at me. So that's what I want them to do.
How many people have gone through the program?
We're a little over 500 now. So we're in our 8th year. So we started out with just 4 pilot kids and trying it and testing different things. Originally, we were going to build tables and furniture as kind of a social enterprise. But we realized that no matter how hard we worked, the guys couldn't build a table that you'd want to buy. So we said, well, let's retool and rethink this. And that's where it dawned on me that the young men were the product, not the table. So we flipped that around.
What a statement. The young men are the product.
Yes.
And so you've gotten 400 to 500 kids who are now men, who are now paying their own way. And for someone who hasn't paid their own way, something magic happens when you pay your own way and you have at the end of the month $1 more than you spent.
Oh yeah, I've had them call me back and say, "Hey Scott, I think my check's wrong. They paid me too much because they never. I used to have to work 3 weeks to get this, and they're blown out of the water with it." So
if people want to help you, what do they do? How do they get hold of you? What is it you need?
We rely a lot on our volunteer coaches. These are the guys that come down for a couple mornings a week and deliver the curriculum. All of our curriculum is comprehensive and it's very easy to deliver. So they'll spend about 90 minutes in a classroom and teach the young men basic math. Yeah, or in the wood shop. So we have 4 curriculums. We have work ethic, financial literacy, basic math, and career prep.
And career prep being if you're going to be an electrician.
Resume,
okay.
How to dress for an interview. How to.
What about the hands-on?
The hands-on in the afternoon. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a wood shop downstairs where they actually build the birdhouses, and we do cutting boards, and they do merit badge projects, is what I call them. Make 5 or 6 projects over the 6 weeks, and then we also do a lot of field trips. So we'll go. COVID's kind of restricted that lately, but we would go to actual live construction sites, and they would walk around and talk to the journeyman there. We spend an afternoon welding, so they get to weld some things. We go
Which,
up
by the
to-
way, is an art.
It is.
I've done
It's
welding,
very much
and
so.
that is not. It was
Yeah.
pretty ugly what I did.
So they'll a couple of days welding. We go up to the independent electrical contractors, and they'll wire up some electrical switches, 2-way, 3-way switch, and make the little light bulb come on. It's kind of a smorgasbord. They get a little taste of everything over the 6 weeks, and then they decide, I want to be a plumber or I want to be an electrician. So a lot of them come to me, and they're dead set on, I want to be an HVAC. We had one kid want to do HVAC, and we had him downtown, down in the basement, looking at the boilers, and he started sweating and getting all nervous. And I said, well, let's take you outside. And turns out he had claustrophobia. So I said, well, HVAC's probably not going to be a career for you because you're going to be in a lot of tight spaces. So now he's a mason. So he's out in the open air and he loves it.
Laying bricks.
Another kid took him welding, and he wanted to be a welder, but he didn't like having the helmet on. Something, I don't know what it was, enclosed spaces. And so now he's an electrician. But that's part of the beauty of it, is they think they want to do one thing, they wind up making a left turn and doing something different. But the sky's the limit. I mean, the opportunities are out there to...
So you need, I'm assuming you need money as well.
Yes.
Tell me about that. How can people help if they want to...
It's tuition free. We don't charge the students a nickel. We actually pay them a stipend to come to class.
Which means somebody has to donate money to you.
Correct. Yeah.
And where do you get that money?
We have a three-tiered, three-legged stool, if you will. So we have private corporations that are partners with us. So it's kind of like a chamber of commerce. They'll sponsor us at a gold level or a silver level. And in return for that, they get to cherry pick from our graduates. So it's a win-win situation. They know that these students are going to be stars for them, and it lowers their cost of hiring tremendously. We also work with several of the key foundations around town. Daniel's Fund is a contributor. Some of the other major foundations help us out. And then we have individual donors that give freely out of their pockets and out of their family foundations and things of that type nature.
Somebody wants to help you out. Where do they go?
We have a very comprehensive website. It's called themastersapprentice.org.
Themastersapprentice.org.
Correct.
If I could spell, I could probably go there.
I want to make it shorter.
But I'll ask my kid how to spell it.
Yeah.
And the number one thing you guys need, if people are watching, is what?
I would say volunteer coaches right now, because with the COVID, it's really a lot of guys, their wives have said, okay, you're staying at home till this is over, and I get that, to each his own. So we could use some more coaches. Plus, we like to rotate our volunteers because we don't want to burn them out too much. So coaches are number one. Recruiting is going great, and then more corporate partners, because I know all these corporations, I mean, you can't go 2 blocks in any direction without seeing construction going on. So they're dying for good employees, so more corporate partners.
And there's also been a real stigma about the trades that, oh my God, your kid has to go in debt $150 to $200,000 to get her degree in humanities.
Yeah, French literature.
French literature. In the meantime, things need to be built, things need to be fixed, and a lot of people look down on those trades, but that's real creation and a lot of job security and a lot of money.
And it's a lot of our national debt too. I was reading the other day that we're approaching $2 trillion in student loan debt, and we're continuing to give money to kids to go to college to earn a degree that they're not going to use, and then they're not going to pay back the loan. So there's something wrong with this picture, because you go into the trades and it's tuition free all the way.
And if people have that kid in mind who needs to grow up, maybe the girlfriend is pregnant, no, you got to get out of my basement, this is the place to go.
It is. We welcome them. 4 basic criteria: at least a GED or high school diploma. You do have to pass a basic drug test, because you can't be smoking weed and working on the job site. That's a given. Authorized to work in the U.S., because when you get your journeyman's, it has to be going forward with that. And they have to have the right attitude of showing up. They have to be, I call it coachable. You have to be coachable.
You've kicked people out.
Yes. We just tell them that you're not ready yet. Come back when you're ready to get serious. And we've had a few come back 6 months, a year later, and they've turned it around. So
500 kids, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I hope you make it 5,000 kids soon.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Hey, Scott, thank you so much.
Thanks,
really
Jon.
appreciate it.
Great being here.
If you enjoyed that conversation, by all means, click one of these other great programs. We have the best conversations with the most fascinating Coloradans. And subscribe to our channel. Just click down below and hit that little bell button too. You don't want to miss a single show.